Hi, YouTube, it's Fear. Gotta get the camera together, Lord. How's everyone doing today? Happy holidays and all of the good stuff. Let me go ahead and get my other two going. I had to start off with a smile. Happy holidays, happy new year, everyone. It's the last Real Estate Tuesday for 2025. Okay? Let's get it in. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. Let's get those goals. How many people have already wrote down their goals and things? Gotta put my phone on Do Not Disturb, child. Hi, Brittany. She popped in for a minute. Is everybody did their goals yet? Be great. Hey, General. So I know a lot of people do New Year's resolutions and do all the things. If you started on those, talking to the first time home buyers, getting you prepared for 2026 for this home buying season. So please like, follow, share, do all of the things, subscribe on my YouTube, do all of the things because I have some great information for you today. So if you're ready for 2026, drop a 1 in the comments. I know we only got 2 more days. Well, a day and a half now because it's 12:30. So listen, it's time to get it going, right? So I already started thinking about my goals weeks ago, and I had shared on my story about how I did a calendar. So I got a calendar on my wall with all of the things that I'm going to be doing my whole 2026 is already mapped out, but I got my calendar starting in January. I had that up for a couple weeks now. So that I'm glad to do it differently this time because I always write it down. But I'm writing it down, making real plain now because it's on my wall. So every day I get up, I see this. Okay. So let's get into it. So, like I said, like, follow, share, do all of the things, subscribe, and we're going to get into how to be prepared to purchase a home in 2026. It don't matter where you are, what city and state you're in. Let's talk about where you are now so that you can get prepared in these next few months because especially if you're ready to buy in spring and summer, those are one of the best times to buy because of the fact that more homes are going to be on the market. But starting in the spring, depending on where you are, depending on how it warms up wherever you are, between March and August is always a good swing to see. And it's predicted that interest rates are going to go lower, but we just don't know. And the thing is, it's never going to get back to everybody want to call me now. It's never going to get back to 3 to 4%. So you got to understand that if you want to get into the game, you got to jump in. So let's talk about the financial climate. I know a lot of people are hearing a lot of things about what's going on as far as the stock market, cryptocurrency, all these precious metals that are going up. Gold is on the rise, silver is on the rise, and surprisingly, copper about to be going crazy. I read an article earlier. So you want some assets, you want some commodities, and I understand that people say that when you own your own home, it's a liability, but you can turn your liability to an asset. But we talking about acquiring it first. So we all about acquiring assets for 2026, right? Whatever that looks like for you, buying a home, buying stocks, buying gold, silver, look like copper about to come on the rise because all these AI companies, these semiconductors and all these things are going to need the copper in order to, function. So make sure that you understand the financial climate. And one of the things is real estate. So what are buyers feeling now? This is the end of 2025, but what are you feeling? So interest rates are staying higher. Rent is still rising in most markets. Some may be going lower, but in most markets, it's still going up. Buyers are worried about waiting too long versus buying wrong. And if you think like an investor, you're not going to buy wrong, especially here in Detroit. So inventory is uneven. Some cities are cooling, others are quietly heating up. And Detroit is heating up. In the Midwest, I should say the Midwest is heating up. Milwaukee is doing some things. Ohio is doing some things. Illinois is always doing some things. But here in Michigan, it's heating up. And a lot of different areas and little little hotspots, not just in Detroit, but in the suburban areas as well. So buyers who want to win in 2026 won't be the ones guessing the market. They'll be the ones prepared for it. So you have to be prepared for the market. So we're talking about a little bit of housing predictions, right? So nationally, there's likely going to be it's going to be stabilized, not a crash, but stabilized. So waiting for the interest rates to go to 3 to 4% for the cost of buyers, it's not gonna happen. So waiting could be detrimental, but you know, hey Courtney, but buying wrong can be detrimental. So you have to make sure that you're understanding. So home prices are kind of like flat to modest growth. You got 2 to 5% in many markets, but it's in pockets of Detroit, you have 7 to 10%, okay, appreciation year on year. And some even higher. West Bloomfield saw 15% appreciation. So it all depends. Novi was like 12%. So it all depends on where you are. So you want to buy right and where you are in your pockets. Start somewhere, right? So stronger growth in affordable Midwest cities could be for you. If you're investing, that's another thing. If you're a first-time investor, investing in the Midwest is one of the best ways to, come up on some assets for the low. Like here in Detroit, you can still probably, listen, the caveat to it all is the house probably been vacant for years, decades. So you're going to have to do a lot of renovation. But the upside is that the appreciation is there, the growth is there, and then your ARV, which you should check, should be there. You don't want to buy where there's no comps, especially if you're a first time investor or first time home buyer, typically, unless you're going to buy the block and stabilize that community. That's something different. But there is going to be a lot of competition because of the fact that, especially here, there's a lot of redevelopment going on. You got the Joe Louis Greenway, that's going to be done in 2027. So you only got a year to figure out, because home price in Detroit along that is 28 zip codes that's going to be included in the Joe Louis Greenway. So you're talking about from the east side all the way to Dearborn up that 94 strip. You're going to be seeing home prices jump. Dearborn is already seeing increases, but once that Joe Louis Greenway, if you're looking in Dearborn, it's going to increase. So not only is the Joe Louis Greenway, you have other developments, you have community developments, you have hey, Nysa, you have, the Cooley High renovation that's going to be taking place. You have the aerospace, the aerospace school, I can't think of the name of it. Davis Aerospace School is moving back to City Airport. Brightmoor has a multi-million-dollar plan. The Dexter Linwood area has a multi-million-dollar plan. So not just because of the Joe Louis Greenway, but you also have these pockets in different areas and in different neighborhoods that's about to, go ham. And if you're from here and you have not rolled down Dexter, between Davison and I would say Joy Road, baby, it looks totally different. And they even put the name of the neighborhood. I lived over there for years and I never knew that the neighborhood had a name. They even put the neighborhood name up. So it's a lot of different changes that's going on. And they want that neighborhood to look like the fashion district, well, better. They want to thrive in better than the fashion district, which is in Livernois, the university district. So that's the thing. You have to know your market, know where you're buying, and buy smart. So, but these things are not just happening in Detroit. Like I said, the Midwest in Indianapolis, it's been happening too. In the Midwest is seeing a whole flood of investors and different changes. Ohio, here, Milwaukee, Illinois, like I said, Indiana. The Midwest is being sold up because it's still cheap. You can still get a duplex. You don't need to work, but you can still get a duplex for like 50 to 70 grand here. So you just gotta buy smart. You gotta buy in the right neighborhood. So what's the competition going to look like? So you got fewer casual buyers. You got people that's coming in with knowledge, and you need to make sure that you have the knowledge. And then there's going to be more seriously financially prepared buyers, because a lot of people have been waiting for 2026 to buy. So it's going to be some competition in there. So rates don't have to drop for buying to make sense. Your numbers do. So as long as you are buying in the neighborhood, typically appreciation on average is 1% to 5%. But in these areas that are growing, like in Detroit, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, different places around the country, you're seeing 7 to 15% appreciation year on year. So you need to make sure that you're buying right. And how you do that is by knowing your numbers. So to look at the Detroit aspect of it, we have continued steady appreciation, not explosive, but it's reliable. Strong demand in established neighborhoods, like I just mentioned. Okay. And in areas near redevelopment and infrastructure projects. So you got the soccer stadium they working on. They got that dome that they're putting up in downtown. So downtown already kind of is getting it expensive, but you still got some commercial properties here that you can get for reasonable as well. So make sure that you're understanding like what you're looking for. But if you're looking for residential areas, look at the places where the redevelopment is starting, but everything hasn't already been beautified. You find the house for you, and there's so many financing options that you can use in order to help fix the house up too. And then, or wait for somebody to fix it up, because this investor's coming in here flipping too. So just think about that. So, but Detroit still remains more affordable than most major metros and attractive to first-time home buyers and long-term equity growth. Because like I said, some neighborhoods are growing 7 to 10% appreciation year on year. The national average, hey Allegra, a national average is nothing but 1% to 5%. So buying prepared in Detroit in 2026 can outperform waiting in a more expensive market. Like I said, once 2027 comes, prices are about to shoot up in Detroit, and people are going to be like, oh my God, I should have bought. 2030, Detroit is about to look way different. If you're living in the Midwest or in the South, you need to know what your city plans are. They have city plans up to 2050. We're just behind. Okay. So Detroit had their 2030 plan out 20 years ago. So it's not like this is a new thing. It's been there. So if you go to your county and city websites and look at the redevelopment plans, you will see the plans for your city and where you should buy. That's the first thing that you need to see. Look at what is the city doing? Where are the landmarks? What is being redeveloped? What is being put there? Is there a municipal building? New businesses going? Are they fixing the street? Like I said, the Dexter Linwood area, they redid that whole street. You have structural bike lanes. There was never any bike lanes in the hood. Okay, it's not going to be the hood no more. And over there, it's a unique area because you got all those huge homes that are either duplexes, or we like to sell 2-family flats. You got tris and you got quads. And you got those small apartment buildings over there too, and some big ones. So that you can get for cheap. But the only thing is that the renovation gonna be high, but the upside on the back end, your ARV, is going to be great. And also, don't forget, if you are thinking about it in a sense where you're a first-time home buyer, you want to buy something, you want to do the burn method, buy, renovate, rent, refinance or repeat or whatever. You live in one unit and then you rent out the other ones, and somebody is buying renting out your other units and they're paying the mortgage. You also can get incentives from your city for fixing up the property and having affordable housing. There's affordable housing initiatives all around this country. So if you're thinking about if you're a single and alone, or even a small family, you can buy a 4-unit apartment, 4-unit property, and live in one, rent out the other ones, and then have them pay the mortgage, and you can get incentives back from the city wherever you are. It's not just here in Detroit. Check what your city has, because they got all these blighted buildings, all these abandoned buildings. They need somebody to fix them up and live in them, because your city is changing, it's thriving. All these things are changing. So you need to understand the changes. So what are financially smart buyers doing differently? They don't ask, can I get approved? They ask, can I afford it comfortably? So a lot of people think that whatever they get pre-approved for, it's they got to take the whole amount. I did it. When I bought my first home, I got approved for 160,000. I was only making $48,000 a year. So, that's the, I'm not saying it like that, but I'm just saying that's the reason why. But I was making $48,000 a year. I got approved for 160,000. I bought a house for 150. So I didn't use my whole max out pre-approval. So you can understand that you don't have to do that. You don't have to use your whole pre-approval just because you get pre-approved for it. Do it based on what you're comfortable with. So your monthly payments need to be comfortable, not maxed approval. You don't want your housing including mortgage, that's that's principals, interest, taxes, insurance, your emergency fund for maintenance, your utilities, to be over the amount in which you can afford. So it's not just your mortgage that you have to put into a factor. It's the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, your emergency fund. Your emergency fund has to be there. And then you have to have money. Thank you. Hey, Rob. You have to make sure that you have money for, other things, your utilities, whatever that looks like for you. Because gas in Detroit, listen, they taxing. DTE is not playing, especially in these winter months. So you have to make sure that you're factoring in the numbers. The numbers are not just for, it's not just for, your mortgage. You have to factor in all those, and you got to say that 1%. So you have to have the 1% rule. I've done a video about it. The 1% rule is you basically saving 1% every single year of your home value. But when you first start out, is whatever your purchase price is, but you got to start increasing it once your home value goes up. So if you buy a home for $200,000, that means you have to have $2,000 saved in a high yield savings account, people. Not just sitting in there in a regular bank account where it's getting a penny every year. You want it in a high yield, and if it's going to sit. So that way but you're going to have homeowners insurance and a home warranty. Yes. So, but sometimes, they find ways not to pay. So you have to have that emergency fund, on there. But planning for long-term equity is what you're thinking about when you're talking about your numbers. So when you're thinking about buying a home in 2026, your mortgage is your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, PITI, your emergency fund, and your utilities. Now, you can include your homeowner's insurance is included in your escrow with your insurance. That's with your PITI. Your home warranty is outside of that, so that can be included in your utilities, which that should run you between $75 to $200 a month, depending on what coverages you plan on having, because everything is not covered in the lowest package. And if you have a good real estate agent like myself, okay, you can also make sure that the seller factor in 1 year of your home warranty, so then you could get a break on that part. But you got to factor in these costs. So let's talk about the timeline. So the timeline is this: if you're 6 months out from buying a house, right, in 2026, you're talking about buying a house in December, right? You want to make sure that you're looking at your credit report, not just your score, what's on your credit report. You want to pay down high interest debt, stop lifestyle inflations. What that means, you might get a little mad because you got to make a little sacrifice sometimes, depending on what you want to do. So all those brunches and things that you might want to do every week, you might have to do it once, every quarter instead of once every week or once a month, depending on, what you're thinking about doing in the house that you want. Now, credit score is not really a factor anymore when you're talking about federal loans. And I'm talking about FHA loans, USDA, Freddie Mac, Freddie Mae, all of those are different type of government loans. Credit score is not a factor anymore. So they factor in your rent payments, your utilities, and then it varies by um, lender as well. They might factor in your cell phone bill. So it's different things that they go by, your credit card bill. So you don't have to have a perfect credit score in order to purchase a home anymore. So you don't have to have a 700. You didn't need a 700 in the first place. So but if you want first time home buyer incentives, like you want down payment assistance, closing cost assistance, you have to have a certain credit score. And those criteria are different. Typically, you can get first time home buyer assistance, some as low as a 580, 600 minimum, typically 620 to 680, depending on where you are and what you need and everything like that, right? Thank you. So that's the only thing. Now, if you have money saved and you have the money to put down, you only need 3.5%. Sometimes you only need 1.5%, depending on the loan. If you have that money, you don't have to have a perfect credit report or score. So just understand that there are ways around it, but your interest rate is going to be high. There's always a caveat. Your interest rate is going to be high. But you can refinance that later once you fix your credit, because the house can help you fix your credit, can increase your credit score, because you're adding in another account that is, what do you have, a revolving and you have installment. That'll be an installment. Your installment will help you build your credit as well. So, but if you want first-time homebuyer assistance, then your credit score and your credit report comes into play. That's what people are not talking about. So you need to make sure that you don't have, you have the minimum of 600. I know a bank that's doing 600, and they don't care about any negative items. So as long as you got a 600, you are 2 years on your job, you have a 56% DTI. Usually they only want you to have a 40%. That's debt to income ratio. So that's high with that lower credit score. And like I said, 2 years on your job, 600 credit score, 56 debt to income ratio. They don't want your tax returns. They don't care about bankruptcies. They don't care about any of that. As long as they know that you have money to pay. Okay. You could get first time home buyer assistance, down payment assistance, and also closing cost assistance. And you could be coming off, if you got a great real estate agent like myself and others that are out there that are negotiating, where you get money back at the closing table. You go get your earnest money back anyway. Earnest money is like a deposit, like letting the seller know that you're serious, right? So those are the things you have to do, and start thinking about some of the things that you can leave out, right, of your lifestyle right now, something that you don't need in order to build up that fund, because the banks want to see that you have money saved as well, even though you're getting assistance. So, and then start your home fund. So if you know for a fact that you want to buy a $300,000 house, then, and you know your year out, by the time a year out, you should have at least $3,000 saved for your home emergency fund already. So you want to improve your debt to income ratio. That's the bottom line. The lower your debt, the more you get qualified for on paper, but you don't have to take the whole thing. So buyers improve their debt to income ratio by 8%, qualifies for better rates and lower payments. Your whole point is to have a lower interest rate and a low payment. So the DTI, that credit score does matter. But like I said, you can still buy a house without a credit score minimum if you want to use a FHA loan, a Freddie Mae, Freddie Mac, USDA, but you're going to have a higher interest rate, and you could possibly not have the first-time home buyers incentives. So if you're 6 months out, you want to lock in consistent income documentation. So if you go with a regular bank, they want to see your 2 years of tax returns, your You're going to have your check stubs, your W-2s, your, they want to see your bank statements. So all of those things you need to be, they want to see 3 months of bank statements, 3 months of pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns. And that's if you're a W-2 employee. Now, if you are a business owner, then you have to have your profit and loss statement, your asset list, uh, your balance sheets, and they need your bank statements and your tax returns. Sometimes with business owners, they want more than 2 years. So you have to have that stuff in alignment. So you want to have those income documents ready. You want to price test your future payment at different interest rates, taxes, and insurance. Now, if you go to realtor.com, I think Zillow does it too, but I know realtor.com for sure. You can see a house that you like. And you go down, you scroll down, and you can put in there like 3.5% is typically the average down payment. Because they're going to have 20% in there, but you don't have to pay 20% of a home unless you are buying a jumbo loan, which is something that is over the FHA limit. A jumbo loan is something like here, our FHA limit is $524,000. But in other areas like in LA and California, it's like over $1 million. So, it all depends on where you are. So you want to make sure that you don't need 20%. You need 10 to 20% for those higher homes. Like if you're going to buy in West Bloomfield or the Novi's or the Arbor Hills, right? That's in Michigan. But if you're looking at areas where it's still under 500,000, you don't need 20%, 10%. You need 3.5%. So if you go to realtor.com, you see a house you like, you put it 3.5%, you can see. It'll tell you how much the mortgage, interest, taxes, and insurance is going to be based on that particular rate that they're going to put in there. So that could vary, but you'll be able to get a glance. So look at that and see if that's something you can afford. So that's your homework, right? Go to realtor.com or Zillow. Go to where they do like the estimates of your mortgage. On Zillow is estimate, on realtor.com, I can't remember what they call it, but you scroll down on the house, like you click on the house that you like, and you scroll down towards the bottom, you will see it, and it'll say like possible, or predicted mortgage. But you got to change that number out from 20 because they're going to have a default of 20%. Change it out to 3.5. And then research down payment assistance programs in your area. Excuse me. Because they vary across the county, city, states, whatever one that you want to, right? So buyers plan for $1,850 payment instead of stretching it to $2,300 avoids being house poor. So if you plan on, look, I can afford $2,300, but that $1,850 will still afford me the lifestyle in which I want to live. Because, excuse me, if you have children, they're a bill. They have activities. You might want to go on vacations. You might want to still go out to eat. So you have to factor in all of those things. Don't lose your lifestyle because you want to buy a house. Make sure that you are having a comfortable payment. So if you know, okay, $2,300 is what I can afford or what I've been paying, but listen, that $1,850 is going to give me what I need. So remember, you have to be able to afford your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, your home maintenance repair fund, which is 1% of your home price. And after you get into your home, whatever your home value is, and your utilities. You could call your electric company, gas company, whoever, I know Texas, they got like, they do a lot. So whoever that is DTE in Detroit. So you call them and ask them, what is the average cost of gas and lights during, for this house, this square footage, they'll tell you. Or you might be able to look it up on their website. Sometimes they have it. So when you're talking about, that's 6 months out. So let's talk about if you ready to buy in March, okay? You ready, right? So you go and you get pre-approved because it could take up to 3 months to find you a house that you like, especially when it's in these colder months. It could take you that. So at this point, if you know you have your income statement's in order, your debt to income ratio is low, and your credit score is where it's at least a 620, because that's what you really need, in order, or 600, depending on where you go. If you find that first time home buyer incentives is like 600, because I know a bank that's doing 600, minimum is 620 to 650. So once you get your credit score there and you have your earnest money deposit funds, you're not applying for no new credits, right? And you finalize your budget, you know your numbers, you know how much you can afford for your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, your emergency fund, and your utilities. Are you ready to go? You go get that pre-approval. You go to a trusted lender. Now, when you go to these lenders, you want to make sure that you're interviewing these people before you give them your information to run. Unless they do a soft pull. Now, if they do a soft pull, that's not going to be detrimental to your credit. So what is a soft pull if you don't know? A soft pull is basically they pull your credit, but it's not going to show up as an inquiry on your credit report. And it's okay if you do, if you're shopping for the same thing. So if you're shopping for the same thing, it doesn't look as bad, because you might have to switch lenders in the process. But it only looks bad in your inquiries when you go and try to buy a house, try to buy a car, get a credit card, go get some furniture. Don't be all over the place. During this 3 months, if you're ready in these 3 months, that means you're ready to be at the closing table by March. No new credit, not switching jobs, not putting anything in your name for anyone, okay, and not running up your credit cards. You need to make sure that you're disciplined. Go get your pre-approval. Make sure you stay disciplined during the process. Make sure you have some reserve funds, because you have to pay for your inspection, your appraisal, your earnest money. So that'll probably run you, I would say, like $2,000 at the, So I would say have at least $2,000 on hand for your inspection, your appraisal, earnest money, and go through the process. Interview the lenders. Get somebody that has a good rapport with you, because they're working for you. They don't get paid unless you close. So ask them, how long does it take you to respond? What are you looking for as far as, getting qualified? Know your information. Say, I have a 670 credit score. I don't have any collections. I have 4 credit cards that are good standing. They're under 67%. My debt to income ratio is 30%. Let them know exactly what you have and tell them what they can do for you before you even give them your information. Ask them how long it takes them to respond to you. Because I was working with a lender one time, and he took 2 weeks, and we almost lost a house because he took so long to respond. Get a good rapport. And if you are going to an actual bank to do this, go in and talk to the people. Sit down with them. Okay? So, prepared buyers win a home with seller concessions, while unprepared buyers drop out. So, make sure that you're prepared. Excuse me. So, I can't believe I was on here for 30 minutes, but this is some great information. Let me know. Put some flames in the chat if this is some good information. Or in the comments. Let me know something. So, what do you want to learn from this, right? Don't time the market. You time your financial readiness. And your best time to be prepared for 2026 is before everyone else does. Start today looking at your finances if you want to become a homeowner in 2026. And if you're ready within 3 months, that means you buy the house by March, you should be already lining up who you go talk to as far as your lenders, your real estate agent, and all of those things, so you can get the process. You 6 months out, you have time to pay off some bills. That means you're buying by June. which will be a lot more homes on the market then, typically. Okay. Because a lot of people right now, like if they're doing their flips right now. They're buying up stuff and flipping it for the summer months, the spring and summer months. And if you're a year out, you have time to really comb through your finances and really understand your financial blueprint and who you are in your finances. You have a relationship with your finances. You know how you feel when you have money, you know how you feel when you don't have it. So you have a relationship. So get a firm relationship with your finances, budgeting, paying off debt, saving, all of those things. But if you're going to save in a high yield savings account. Okay. Uh, so that's it. Um, if you are in the Detroit and the surrounding areas, I would love to assist you. I am a licensed real estate agent here. So reach out to me. If you are not in the state of Michigan and you still need some assistance on increasing your financial IQ, I have what you need. I have ebooks, and coming in 2026, I can personally coach you. So I'm having my Pathway to Keys, initiative that I'm starting. So you get a preview. So happy new year to that. My Pathway to Keys initiative is going to assist you with increasing your financial IQ wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you in Detroit or Chicago or Charlotte or Atlanta. I am here to increase your financial IQ in order for you to be properly prepared to buy smart in your market. And if you are in Detroit, you'll be able to physically come and have a conversation with me and get personalized touches. If you're out of, the city or whatever, we're going to do Zooms and stuff like that. But get ready for Pathways to Keys, baby. Get ready to increase your financial IQ wherever you are. So I bid you adieu. And the next time I see you will be 2026. So happy New Year's to everyone. Be safe and get your financial house in order. Have an amazing day, everybody. Bye, YouTube Sphere.